Hello, this is Sophie Lawson, sophielawson.com, and this is episode 189 of the Sophie Art Podcast. It's a little podcast here about the art and things. lilDENNiS is with us today, but he's not. He's a puppet today because I haven't put my hand on him because we're outside, which means we are doing another walk and talk. And on the floor is a load of leaves. I don't know if you can hear them, but that's basically what this week's topic's all about. It's to do with like trees and stuff like that. But really what I'm talking about is lilDENNiS is in the pocket now. So if you watch on YouTube, youtube.com/Sophie Lawson, you're able to watch this one as a podcast. I'm a little bit out of breath because I'm recording on the camcorder, the audio, so it might be a little bit noisier than normal. I hope it's alright though. But there's leaves everywhere. So it kind of links in with this week's topic, which is climate change. So what happened was, what we're going to do on this is talk a little bit about my thoughts on climate change, which is, I don't think it's real. It is real, but it isn't real. It's a bit like a lot of things. God, can you hear the noises? It's a bit like a lot of things. What's happened is, it's the truth has been hijacked for nefarious reasons. That's what I think. So what I thought to myself was, all that climate change is a period in a cycle. So in other words, you've got cycles. Everything is in a cycle. So if you're inside of the cycle and you don't realise that it's a cycle, you might actually confuse it with like an end. So in other words, it looks like the planet's heating up and stuff like that. And what I say is, it is heating up, but it's only heating up because it's like a season. It's the season of heating up, and then there will be another season of it cooling down again, and then like thousands of years in the future, it will heat up again. So what's happened is we are just in the point where it's sort of heating up. Very much like trees. So what happens is every year, around this time of year, all the trees start losing their leaves. So what I thought to myself was, if you was a little creature who only existed for say 2 weeks, and you just so happened to be born like the week before, you were born the week before the leaves started falling off the trees. If you didn't know better, what would happen is when all the leaves started falling off the trees, you would think, oh no, all the trees are dying. What you don't realise is, in a few months' time, all the leaves will come back again. Just like a season. It's the same thing with the earth. So what I think's happened is, what it is, you look at the old days, it happened before, heating up and cooling down, like the Ice Age, things like that. So all I'm thinking is, it isn't what they think it is. So what happened was, a couple of weeks ago, I was in town, and I heard a load of people marching, like on a protest. So I thought, well, what's going on here? So I went outside, looked outside, and the city centre, it was full of thousands of people marching for climate change. What I thought to myself was, it's beautiful what they're doing, they've all come together. It's nice, and they all had like slogans like "Save the Earth," the stuff like this. This is what I think's happened. I don't know if you noticed, but the media and things like that, they get behind stuff like that, protests like that, but they don't get behind protests, things we should be protesting, which is we should be fighting and protesting. I wouldn't say fighting, but maybe it is a time to start fighting for freedom. for freedom. So that's the thing. Instead of protesting for climate change, which I believe is a smokescreen, we should actually be fighting for freedom, protesting for freedom. What happens is people protest for freedom, they're made to look like the bad guys. It's the same with, only by the media that is, it's the same with the Black Lives Matter. I feel like Black Lives Matter was another smokescreen. What it is it's a positive thing. Black Lives Matter brings everyone together. We are all equal. The thing is though, if you start doing things like Black Lives Matter, what you're actually doing is you're creating the very thing you're trying to stop. So the only way to, you see what I mean? By sort of doing a thing about Black Lives Matter, you're actually separating. You're saying that the black lives are different. You see what I mean? It's a very weird one. This is why it's so clever, because on the surface it looks like it's a really positive thing, but when you think about it, it is actually, I feel like it's actually keeping the separation going. It's the same with this climate change thing. All it is it's a smoke screen. Put you off the scent. So in other words, instead of focusing on our freedom, which is being taken away by all these vaccines and what's it called, virus stuff and that, all the rules and whatnot, instead of focusing on that and saving our freedom, everyone started going on about climate change. And again, on the surface it's a beautiful thing, but the fact is, I believe we're not responsible for a lot of it. It's just part of nature. It's just a season of nature. Lots of cars. So again, instead of focusing on our freedoms, everyone's going off and focusing on this climate change thing. So the way I look at it is, it's a bit like, imagine you got a boat, a beautiful boat, and you want to look after it. Choo Choo! Got a train. Imagine you've got this boat, like a beautiful boat, and you want to look after it, you're protecting it. So there's like 1,000 of you on this little island looking after this sacred boat, which is really our freedom. The boat represents our freedom. So what they do is they say, right, they're all focused on this boat, there's no way we can take it yet. So what they do is, it's a bit like they create a fake boat which looks on the surface like it's beautiful, made of gold and that. So everyone goes off and looks at that and thinks, oh, look at this one. And then what you realise is the boat's actually made of plastic covered with like gold paper, so it's not actually real. And then when they suddenly realise what's happened, they turn around and their real boat, the gold one, they see it sailing off into the distance, which is their freedom, because they didn't realise what was going on. It's a little bit like that simple little thing you do as a child. It's a bit like a thing where you tap someone on their shoulder and then run to the other side. Or it's a little bit like you're in a swimming pool, or like you're in a pool of water, and you know that thing as a child. I've never been around this way before. Do you remember as a child you used to do that thing where, let's say you had a bag of sweets and you wanted to eat the sweets. Somebody was watching you, what you do is you point into the distance, make them turn around. While they're turning around, you eat the sweets. I think it's a bit like that. So that's all I'm thinking at the moment. It's the same thing but different. I feel like I'm getting a little bit cheesed off now because I can sort of see what's happening. There's a traffic cone on someone's garage. I love that. I love seeing how. Oh, listen to this. The acoustics in here. Oh, coming to the light. Oh, that's impressive. Stones are beautiful. Yeah, that's it really. I don't know where else to go with this. Yeah, I think I'm just getting a bit. I can't quite explain. I don't feel like I can explain my thoughts at the moment about this, because when you try to talk about this, there's a part of me inside that starts saying stuff like, "You can't say that." Do you know what I mean? But I can only go off of my feelings. And my feeling says it's a distraction. This climate change thing is a distraction. Also, it's common sense. A lot of it. I mean, if we all just live... This is the thing, you see. Instead of focusing on trying to change everyone to apparently change the world in a better place, all you got to actually do is just focus on yourself. As long as you're not doing things which are silly, like chopping down trees. That's the other thing. The thing they should stop really is chopping down trees. Not just for anything like that, but more because the trees are beautiful. Like in town, they've chopped down a load of trees, and I half imagine they're going to stick a load of concrete buildings there. I can't remember where I was going with that now, but that's it. All you got to do is focus on yourself. Make sure you're, like, simple things for me. I never drop litter. If I accidentally pull something out of my pocket and it falls on the floor, I always pick it up, like a bit of plastic or something. I don't waste food. I always eat all the food. Not greedy though. Drink water. Simple. I walk everywhere. Live a very simple life. That's the thing. I think really just all I would say is focus on your own life. Sort of like lead by example, isn't it? But what I will say is the thing we should be protesting is our freedoms. But another thing about that is I've sort of got to a point now I can't be arsed. How weird is that? I can't be arsed. Not in a bad way. Again, it goes back to that thing. I know all I've got to do is, like, if somebody says I've got to do something and it doesn't feel right, I'm not going to do it. Simple. That's all I've got to do. I ain't got to try and stop other people doing stuff, because again, it's free will. Everyone's got to do what they think is the right thing. So even that protest is the right thing because it felt like the right thing to them. And also that protest that they did have an impact because it made me think. So it's quite cool how it all works together, I think. So like I said many times, nothing's ever wasted. There's a reason for everything. It's quite exciting. But it's very simple when you think about it. Make sure you're living nice life. That's it. I feel like that's it for this one. Little Dennis is still in my pocket. It's quite cosy in there. Little Kitty's not with us today. She's at home, sleeping in her little bed. I think that's it. What else have I got? Anything else to say? No. I like seeing all the leaves though. All the leaves on the floor. It's quite, something about it is quite cool. Da-da-da. Oh, I do this weird thing as well. I've noticed. It's something I've noticed when I've been watching videos that I've recorded. If I ever walk past somebody, because I get a little bit anxious, I do this thing. I go da-da-da. I start singing. Wonder why that is. It's just one of these things, I suppose. Anyway, I hope you like this one. Please let me know what you think about all of this. Because the other thing is, in the ancient past, we were connected with the earth. I know it. We've definitely lost that. So that's the thing. That's why I think it is a nice message that they're saying. Because part of the message is connect back with nature. Look after the earth. Because the earth is alive. It's an actual creature. It's going to be interesting, I think, to see what happens. The thing is, Mother Nature is always in control. Which is what's so cool about it. I hope you enjoyed that. Please let me know what you think about, what's it called? Climate change and... Oh, shall I do some singing? I think I might... Nah, I'm not gonna... Hey! Hello! Oh, I just did it, see? I did it without even thinking. Bit weird that. Wonder what's doing that. It's like, I didn't even realise I was doing it until I did it, and then I realised I was doing it. Strange. Oh, I've also got this thing that's weird. Something I've noticed and I'm working on now. Reoccurring pattern of control. There's a part of me that is a control freak. Definitely a lot better than I used to be. But what happens is, if something happens, if I've got something planned and something happens out of my control, something I couldn't even do anything about anyway, and it all messes up my plans, I'll get into a hump. I'll like get into a little sulk, become quite miserable. And now what's weird is, that's stupid. Well, yeah, but why? That's what I'm trying to work out. Why can't I just realise? Because what happens is, a couple of days later, I sort of think to myself, well, hang on a minute, there was nothing you could do about that anyway. Why did you let it affect you? And it's because, I think it goes back to that thing of, you become so sort of believing of the illusion, you don't realise that nothing really matters. Nothing. Is there any grit in here? Yes. You know those little grit boxes? You could stash things in them, because I bet nobody really opens those. You probably hide little things in there. It'd be a good hiding place for drugs or something, I would have thought. That's it, little Dennis, you can say bye. Little Dennis, yeah. Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you soon. Oh, actually, you got this week's inspirational quote. Look, there's a car engine. This week's little inspirational quote is kind of come out of a book. So I've got this little book And here's a little book called Mindfulness. The Little Book of Mindfulness. What I'm going to do is I'm going to randomly turn to a page. This one. You see what's on it. Packed lunches are commonplace, so why not packed breakfasts? How cool is that? Here, look. When we are really honest with ourselves, we must admit our lives are all that really belong to us. So it's how to use our lives that determines the kind of men we are. Cesar Chavez. Isn't that a little bit like what I was saying? When we are really honest with ourselves, we must admit our lives are all that really belong to us. Exactly. I just realised something. This lack of control thing, this control thing I've got, is sort of the same thing. So with this climate change and whatnot, all you got to do is focus on yourself, making sure you're looking after the planet yourself. That's all you can actually do. Same with anything, like if you've got plans for the day, the only thing you can do is your plans. You can't, there's nothing you can do about what other people are doing. It's the same sort of thing. So it's us, which again goes into our free will, which goes all the way back to the freedom thing about when they're trying to force you to do something. Look, it is our lives that belong to us. So no matter what somebody says you've got to do, you haven't got to do it. Because it's our lives, we can do what we want with our lives. And that is all we've got. How cool is that? I like that. When we are really honest with ourselves, we must admit our lives are all that belong to us. So it's how we use our lives that determines the kind of men we are. There's a car coming here. I'm going to get run over. See, I always think about this. What would happen if I jumped off a bridge into like a busy road? Like if I'm not supposed to die yet, something would happen. Because I do really believe that what I think happens is when we're born into this life, I think there is actually an end point. But what my Reiki healer said was, she said that we've got multiple sort of, what do you call it, junction points along your life. Certain points where you could actually, your soul can choose to leave. Almost like you're going down a path, you've got to keep going along this path, but every so often there'll be a turning, and that turning is you like going into the death. So your soul actually has control over when it dies, but you as a human, unless you become aware, because some monks and that, they do actually know when they're going to die. I've heard about that before. So you can actually see when. You can actually like project yourself into the future because your soul knows. So what was that all about? Something about, oh, I forgot what I was talking about there. What was that all about? Don't know. We're going to die anyway. We're all going to die. It's quite exciting. I get excited by that because like you don't know what's going. Oh, that's it. So if I'm supposed to die. Let's say I'm not supposed to die until 2 weeks' time. There's no like cross point. There's no left turning going on. But what happens if you actually decided to jump off a bridge and kill yourself? I feel like what would happen is, very much like the TV show Lost, the universe course corrects itself. I feel like somehow you wouldn't be able to kill yourself. Something would happen. Like you'd go to jump off the bridge, your shoelaces would get caught on the railings or something, and you'd be hanging, and somebody come along and pull you back up. Or you'd jump off, but you'd land just at that moment, a truck would drive by, filled with hay, and you'd sort of safely land in the back of it. Something like that would happen, I think. That's what I'm thinking. So you can't actually kill yourself. I'm pretty sure of that. You can only die when you're supposed to die. but you've got multiple points when you can die, because your soul might say, oh, I'm giving up on this, or your soul might say, you know what, it's time to go. It doesn't have to be negative, you might have just got bored being on the earth, something like that. I like stones. How cool is that? I like stones. I was watching a programme the other day, and it looks like in the ancient past there's some sort of technology or magic which allows them, or allowed them, to melt stones, and that's how they were able to create these like walls where you've got all different shapes of bricks all put together with, the bloke said you couldn't even get an atom between the gaps between each of the stones. So in other words, everything was melted and then shaped very much like plasticine. Like how you can make a wall out of plasticine, you would melt it, you'd push it all together. They're all separate bricks, but they're all one. A bit like humans. We're all separate but all one. Quite cool, I like that. I'm gonna finish it here. I hope you enjoyed that. This week's little inspirational quote. When we are really honest with ourselves, we must admit our lives are all that really belong to us. So it's how we use our lives that determines the kind of men we are. Cesar Chavez. How cool is that? Drop me book.